Alright, we're now going to use double angle identities to solve an equation. So notice how we have a double angle in this equation, and we're looking to solve it from 0 to 360. Well, sounds like one of my neighbors is cutting down a tree. So enjoy that background chainsaw music. So, alright, so we have the sine of 2x. So we know the sine of 2x is equal to 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x. So typically, guys, when you see these double angles in equations, the goal is to get rid of the double angle and rewrite it with just a single angle. So notice how what I have, these are all single angles. Okay? So whether it's a sine or a cosine of a 2x or a double angle in general, you want to rewrite it using one of your identities. Alright, so from here, you got to think about just some basic algebra that you could do to help you solve. Alright, things like factoring. Well, if we're going to factor anything, you want to get everything to one side. So as a general rule of thumb, always look to bring things to one side so that it's equal to 0. Okay? So from there, we can factor, in this particular case, by taking out a GCF of sine of x. So if I take out a sine of x from each of these parts, we have 2 cosine of x minus 1. Okay? So from there, it's in factored form, so we could set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Now again, if you're not seeing this, if you were to just distribute, you'd get the same thing that we have in the previous step. Man, could that chainsaw be any louder? So from here, we are setting each of these pieces, each of these factors, equal to 0, and we're going to solve for x. So on our first piece here, the sine of x is equal to 0. We talked about how to solve this in a previous video. My preference tends to be to just draw a quick sketch of the sine curve, or again, you could use the unit circle. Alright, so we're looking to do this from 0 to 360. So that means we're going to get x equals 0, x equals 180, and x equals 360 for our angles from this factor. Okay. Now our other factor of 2x, or 2 cosine of x minus 1, we can add over 1, and then we're going to divide over that 2. And man, that chainsaw is loud. So from there we have the cosine of x equals 1/2. So let's just assume that this is a no calculator allowed question. Okay? So that means when you're looking to solve the cosine of x equals 1/2, you have to have this committed to memory. So you need to know that the cosine of 60 is a half. If not, then you're going to have to make your 30, 60, 90 special right triangle, and hopefully remember your side ratios and all that good stuff. So we know that x is going to have to equal 60. Now that's only one answer. Okay, that's our reference angle, we said. That goes in the first quadrant. Now notice this 1/2 is a positive number. So write out your A, S, T, C, and think about where cosine is positive. Well, it happens to be positive in the first quadrant and this second quadrant. Okay, so these are the two quadrants where we want our angles. So in this fourth quadrant, we need to do 360 minus 60, and that's going to give us 300. So the two angles, the two answers that come from this half of the problem are 60 and 300. So now finally, let's write our solutions all out from least to greatest using a solution set. So we're looking at 0, 60, 180, 300, and 360. So we have 5 total answers here for x. Alright, so just going to show you one example here on the sine of a double angle. Not going to show you a cosine of a double angle, but if you have some questions, and you'll see some practice ones where if you do see a cosine of a double angle, remember that you have 3 identities to choose from. So how do you know which one to pick? Well, the goal is to generally only have one trig function in an equation. So if you have a cosine of 2x equals something with a sign in it, pick the one that has a sign so that you can rewrite it all in terms of sign. Okay, so the goal is to have just a single trig function, if possible, in the equation. So here we didn't have a single trig function, we had sine and cosine. Okay, but it's all dependent upon what's given. All right, just sometimes you're going to have to do some guessing and checking to figure out which identity would be best to use. Okay, I'll shut up now. Bye-bye.